how do we develop our interview confidence? This is an important one. This is one that I have been asked time and time again from people in AIB, from people outside of AIB, and this one is quite close to my heart because I forgot to mention this at the start. So I have been working in AIB for about 5 years. Okay. Now, when I started working on the recruitment team. So my job was basically, putting up job advertisements, having initial phone interviews with people, getting them in for interview stages, and either offering them the job or unfortunately having to tell them that, we couldn't offer them the job at this time. So I did that for the first 3 years of my career before I moved into the role that I'm in now. And I have to say, guys, whether you're somebody is here and you're kind of on that employment route where you're actively interviewing for roles, or maybe you're in a job at the moment but you're kind of thinking about moving, or maybe you're not in that space at all. I think that a lot of this is very transferable skills, but I think it's really, really important to talk about because ultimately, guys, interview confidence is absolutely key. Bringing your best self to that interview is the most important thing. So let's really dive into this, guys. So, how do we develop our interview confidence? So, I've put down about 6 key points here. So, guys, the first one being that the most important thing you can ever do when it comes to, a job interview is learn about the job role and the job requirements. So, what do I mean by that? So what I mean, guys, is that if you see, a job that you're really interested in, make sure that you read through, what are the responsibilities of that role? What would you be doing? And the reason why I say that, guys, is when I worked in the recruitment team, I used to hire for a lot of our customer services roles. So that would be people who work in our branches or people who work in our call centers. So, if anybody here has ever lost a credit or a debit card, and you ring up, whether it's AIB or any of the banks, those are the people that you are speaking to. Those very lovely people who can help you out. But I remember once ringing somebody. They'd applied for the role, and I said, what is it about this role that interests you? Why did you apply? And their answer was, I have a bank account with AIB. And I remember thinking at the time, it's not that that was a wrong answer. That would have been a great answer, but what it would needed to have been was incorporated in with, well, having looked at the job description, I actually saw that, there's a really high level of people contact with this role. It's dealing with the public, it's handling, quite difficult conversations, which I actually feel very confident doing. It's something I'm very passionate about. So that to me, as a recruiter, would have told me, what, this person, they've read the job description, or they might know somebody who works in that role, but they've actually bothered to kind of have a read about it. So that's really, really crucial, guys. And that really helps to kind of enhance your confidence levels because you're in absolutely no doubt of what that job is. Because something as well I'd always say is, this is where a lot of people can make mistakes with jobs. They don't read it fully, and then when you actually get the job, you think, oh God, this isn't what I thought it was going to be at all. So it's so important, even for you as an individual, to go, is this what I would want to do? Do I feel confident that this is the role for me, that this is something I can be really passionate about, that this is something that I believe in, that I want to, make a career out of? So that's the first way you can get really kind of confident and really develop your interview confidence, is really understanding the role that you're going for. The second thing that you can do, guys, as well, is don't be afraid to ask about what are the type of interview questions I'm going to be asked. So again, if a recruiter from a company rings you and they have that initial conversation, they're really happy that you know the role and what it is that you've applied for, and they say to you, can you come in or can you dial in on Friday for an interview? You are fully entitled to ask, absolutely, can I just get a sense of what the type of interview questions or the type of interview format would be? And a lot of the time, guys, recruiters will always give that to you. They will always say to you, look, these are the type of questions that you're going to be asked, because at the end of the day, guys, interviewers are not there to catch you out. They want you to get the job, because the reality is they have a vacancy that they need filled. So they don't want to make life any more difficult in order to fill that. But in order for you to feel confident when you go into that interview, it's no harm that you understand, is it that they are going to ask you questions that are related to particular skills? So a lot of the time they might say, yeah, they're going to ask you questions that relate to communication, that relate to customer service, and maybe that just relate to your general knowledge of the organization. So even if you know that, it means that you can kind of go away and have a think about, what is it, what are maybe the examples that you have that link to, really strong communication skills, or that link to really good customer service skills, whatever it might be. So it's always important that if you don't get that information, to ask it, because that's really going to help to develop your confidence in that interview. You don't feel like you're going in there cold. The third point, guys, that's going to help to develop your interview confidence is that, you can prepare your answers to interview questions. So like what we've just said, if you get any idea of what it is that they're going to ask you, have a, be able to maybe kind of get in front of the mirror. I always do this. This seems really silly. I always say this to people. Put a mirror in front of you and pretend that that mirror is the interviewer, and talk about, some examples of maybe when you've dealt with customers. Talk about some examples of, what you know about the company, what you know about the organization. Because the other really good thing is, guys, is you actually see how, you can come across. Or even if you don't do that, even if you don't want to look at yourself doing it, go to a friend or a family member, somebody that you know well, and practice how you kind of answer those questions. So I just think that preparation is key, guys. It seems like a really basic point, but you would be amazed that a lot of people just think, oh, it'll be fine. There's no way that I can prepare for this. You can always prepare for an interview. And the more that you prepare, the more successful you're going to be, the more confident you're going to be. The minute that you get into that interview, you're going to feel like, you know what, I prepared as much as I could. I gave it my best. After that, there's nothing else that I can do. We've all been in situations where we think, God, I really could have prepared for that more. And we kind of know ourselves that, that preparation is key. So, guys, the fourth point in terms of how to develop your interview confidence, and this kind of links in with our fifth one as well. So I'll kind of combine these two together. This would be research the employer and research, the culture of the organization. So, guys, this is really, really crucial. You have no idea how many times people fall down in this when it comes to, interview confidence. It's so important that when you get in for an interview and when you get to that stage, that you're able to talk about what you know about the organization. So let's take AIB, for example. If somebody was coming in, they might be able to say, I know that the purpose of AIB is that you back your customers' dreams and ambitions. I heard on the radio recently that, you're really, you're very passionate about the sustainability agenda, and that you've moved over to green mortgages. So it's not like you have to know absolutely everything, but it's being able to, you know kind of articulate or be able to let the interviewer know that you do actually know about the organization. And it could even be something that you're interested in. So say, for example, when we talk about researching the organization's culture, a lot of the time, you might go onto like an organization's website. You might see that they've actually got a really good, diversity and inclusion initiative, or they've got a really good well-being and wellness program. And even if you're able to say, I went on your website the other day and I saw that you've got a really good, women in leadership development program. And that to me is something that is very close to my heart. I think that it's so important that companies have those types of programs, that they make time for that. So it doesn't have to be that every kind of random fact about the organization. Even if you wanted to focus on one thing that even just interests you, I mean, that's really, like, that's amazing for an interviewer to see. And I have to say, guys, it will really help to develop your confidence. If you feel comfortable talking about that, you have no idea how well that comes across in an interview, because it's very clear to see that it's something that you're interested in, but you've done your research. And ultimately, from an interviewer's perspective, they would think, wow, this person would be a really good fit in this organization. So doing that bit of research, guys, is really going to help develop your interview confidence. And the final point, the sixth point here, guys, that will ultimately help to develop your interview confidence is being enthusiastic and sincere. And this is really, really important. And this almost goes back to our first point of when you are, whether you're reading about a job description or somebody is telling you about the job, it should be something that gets you excited. It should be something that you feel enthusiastic about. It should be something that is important to you. And that is something that you should be able to show when it comes to an interview. You should be able to say, this is the type of job that is really perfect for me because it really aligns to one of my values, which is, helping others. For me, something that's really important to me is that I can help people, that I can help people who are in, maybe a difficult situation or they're having a problem. And the key thing as well, guys, is being sincere. And to be honest with you, that's something that really, if you are enthusiastic about something, your sincerity very much shines through, like, and again, as we've, talked about a few moments ago, when you've got that high level of confidence, you're very rooted in who you are. You're being your most authentic self. But don't ever underestimate and don't ever feel like, oh God, did I really go off topic there? Did I really talk about something maybe I shouldn't have? The one thing I would say is, always keep it to the interview, but remember that it's okay to be enthusiastic about the role. It's okay to be enthusiastic about the organization or the company. But if you can remember to do those 6 things the next time that you are going in for an interview, it is really, really going to help develop your interview confidence.